Hey, welcome back to Puzzle Run channel. I'm really excited this week because I have been closely following the World Jigsaw Puzzle Championship in Spain. It's been such a great motivation, and today we're back with some speed puzzling practice. As you can see, I have a gradient color puzzle on the table. Honestly, I think it's perfect puzzle to test out different strategies. So let's get started with the first attempt, and as I am assembling, I will share my plan for today. This puzzle is from a brand called Areaware. I have never tried their puzzles before, so I'm curious to see what it's like. The first thing I notice is that the pieces are larger than usual, which I'm not a big fan of. It means the puzzle takes up a lot of more space on the table. For the first attempt, I will just do my best. In the next runs, I will try different strategies to see what works. A gradient puzzle is great for testing because there isn't much to memorize from the image itself. With a typical puzzle, later attempts are faster since you already know the picture. Here, you might get a little more familiar with the color transitions, but the impact should be minimal. This puzzle goes from yellow to red. Right away I noticed the yellow section is much smaller than red, so I started with yellow. It felt easier since there were fewer pieces. But after completing a few rows, I realized each row is basically one solid color with no gradient within it. That makes it trickier. You really have to test piece by piece to complete a row. At some point I had to rotate the puzzle so it would fit into the frame. That small change actually slowed me down since I had to readjust to working from a different angle. Next time I will make sure everything is positioned correctly before starting. It's better to set it up right from the beginning. When I reached the red section, I noticeably slowed down. I'm not sure if it was because of the color, fatigue, or simply having more pieces to work with. I tried to push through, but the pace stayed slow until the end. Done. Just over 90 minutes. I have done gradient puzzles before, and I remember them feeling a bit easier than this one. But that's okay. We have set a baseline to compare against for the next runs. For the second attempt, I wanted to try something different, starting with the red section, which is supposed to be more challenging. I'm thinking that we usually start with the easy part and we are fresh and focused in the beginning. Then, when we hit a harder section at the end, we already tired and slowed down. So this time I flipped the strategy, tackling the hard part first and finishing with the easier yellow section. Let's see how that works. My approach was straightforward. Group the pieces by similar shades of color and then try to build the entire row or column depending on the angle. The start of each row is the hardest since there are so many pieces to test. I also run into some false fits. With solid colors, it's easy to think a piece belongs when it doesn't, and lower quality pieces made this even trickier. Some pieces even started to wear out from repeated attempts. But overall, I think the strategy worked well. I had the energy to handle the tricky red section first, and when I moved to yellow, it felt easier and gave me a nice boost of speed. You know that great feeling when you start placing pieces quickly, it builds momentum and keeps you going faster. This time I finished more than 10 minutes faster than the first attempt. Of course, part of that improvement comes from getting used to the piece size and understanding how the gradient works. But I do think the strategy itself made a difference. It reminds me of how top puzzlers sometimes leave the easier sections for later, so they can speed up again when they need it. For the third attempt, I wanted to test how much fatigue affects speed. I feel like after about an hour of active puzzling, I naturally slow down. So this time I decided to puzzle in 15-minute rounds with breaks in between. Let's see if that helps keep my pace steady. In the first round, I spent about 3 minutes flipping pieces, a little over 1 minute sorting the red ones, and around 6 minutes building part of the frame. By the time 15 minutes were up, I placed 54 pieces in total. Interestingly, in the second and third rounds, I placed 81 pieces each, pretty consistent, but it felt slow. After 45 minutes though, I wasn't even halfway through the puzzle, which was a little discouraging. In this round I managed 88 pieces, a small improvement, but since it was getting dark, I decided to stop and continue next day. The next day I came back fresh and immediately hit a much faster pace, 144 pieces in 15 minutes. I didn't want to stop here because I was in such a good flow. the end, my total time was still faster than previous attempt. It was a really interesting experiment. I learned that staying focused makes a huge difference, and keeping a steady flow is a key. When you're placing pieces one after another, you gain momentum, but if you get stuck, even for a short while, it breaks your focus and slows everything down. For the final attempt, I just wanted to put everything together and see what I had learned. By now, I was more familiar with the puzzle, its size, its pieces' shapes, and the way each color section behaves. But more importantly, I wanted to practice maintaining a high pace for longer stretches. One thing I didn't like about this puzzle was the false fits. At first, I thought it wasn't a big issue, but the more I worked on it, the more frustrating it became. Sometimes two pieces with the same shape would appear in the same color section. With only about 20 pieces in a row, that really shouldn't happen. Still, I love gradient puzzles overall. Comparing my times, the improvement from the first to the last attempt was huge. Sure, part of that comes from getting more comfortable with the puzzle, but I also think it was a great way to practice pacing and strategy. I'm really happy with the progress. And what a week for puzzling! Every spare moment I have been following the World Championship in Spain. It's a little sad not to be there this year, but I am thrilled to watch all amazing puzzlers and their incredible times. The finals are coming and I can't wait. I wish the best of luck to everyone competing. That's all for today. Thanks for watching and happy puzzling. Bye!